Welcome everyone, as we learn the Chok Yisrael for Bshalach day 6, and we start with the 6th parak of Masechtas Para. And now that we don't have the Beis Hamikdash and we don't have Tumah V'Tara, we can't bring the Para Aduma to be Mitar ourselves from Tmei Mesim. So the learning of this is as close as we get to the level of Tahara. Hamakadesh, if somebody was mixing the ash of the paraduma into the mayim chayim that's in a keli, v'nafal kiddush al yada, and the ash, instead of going directly into the water, falls on his hand, or yalatzad, or on the side of the keli, and v'achikach nafal al hashekes, and then from his hand or from the side of the trough, it falls into the trough puzzle. It's no good, because the pasuk insists that it has to be v'lakach, v'lakhu, you take it, v'nasan, and you put it directly in the water. It has to come mikoyach ha'adam, and not falling from the hand or falling from the side of the trough. The Mishnah continues, nafal min hashvayferes lashekes, if it fell from the tube into the water without the person intending to put it in, that's not considered being put in. Even if he was shaking it in his hand, he was shaking the tube in his hand, but he didn't intend to put it into the keli, it just fell by itself, it's possible, because it has to be done with the das to mix the water. Now, notal mishvoy feres, if he took the ash from the tube and instead of putting it directly into the water, he first interrupted and v'chisa, he covered the tube, or he closed the door. So the din is that in such a case, hakidish kosher, the ash inside the tube, it's still okay, but vamayim psulim, but the water is puzzle, because there's not supposed to be any activity intervening between the putting of the water, of the taking of the ash and putting it into the water. Here, where there was interruption, he stopped to close the tube, or he stopped to close the door, it's possible. Zekafa ba'aretz, if let's say the person that was holding the tube, zekafa ba'aretz, he stood the tube on the ground, puzzle, the ash that's in the tube is puzzle because he was masiach das from watching the ash. The fact that he l'soich yodai, if he kept the tube in his hand, kosher, that's different, mipnei she'efsher, because it's possible for him to guard the tube while putting the ash into the water. Hayakidish tsof al pnei hamayim. Let's say you put a lot of ash in the water, and normally the ash dissolves and mixes in the water. Here there was a lot of ash, so there was some ash floating on top of the water. The question is, can he skim off that excess ash, dry it very well, and use it to mix in other water? Ramei and Reb Shimon say, Noitel, he could take that excess ash, he has to dry it very well because it can't be mixed with water, and then and then he could put that excess ash into other water. The Chacham say no. Kol shenaga b'mayim, as soon as the ash touches the water, then it's cannot be used anymore. It's considered meichatas. It cannot be used to create other water. Ein mekachim, but you cannot make other meichatas with that ash. Zilei fesamayim, let's say he mixed ash with the water, and he used that water to spray on the third and the seventh day somebody that was tamei mace, kalim that were tamei. V'nimtza kiddush milmatan, and after he drained out all the water, there was some ash left on the bottom. So Meir Reb Shimon Aimim, consistent with their opinion in the beginning of the Mishnah, Menagev, you could wipe that ash very well, or Mekadesh, and use it again. As soon as the ash touches the water, ein mekachim, but you can't use it again. Hamekadesh b'shoikis, if somebody mixed ash of the paraduma in a trough full of water, vatfi b'soicha, and there's a tiny utensil, a tiny bottle, inside completely submerged in the trough, afal pisha piv tsar kolshu, even though the mouth of that bottle is so small that ash wouldn't be able to get in, but since it's connected with the water of the trough, hamayim shebesaychai b'kudashim, the water in that small tiny bottle is also kaddish and can be used to spray on the tamei mace. Im hoya svoig, if there was a sponge in the trough, hamayim shebesaychai psulim, the water in the sponge is possible. Why? Because you have to mix the ash with water in a keli, and a sponge is not a keli. Now, how do you save all the water when the sponge is inside the trough? Because remember, if any water of that sponge gets into the water in the trough, it disqualifies all of the water in the trough. So, Ketzad Yasa, what do? You zalif adshu magia l'svaig. You drain out all the water until you reach until the sponge. Noga b'svaig, but if you touch the sponge, by touching the sponge, you press it, you cause some of its water to be secreted out into the general water of the trough. Then afal pi shamayim safan al gabav, even if there's still water floating on top of it, kol shein, a layer on top, psulun, any water that's left in the trough is going to be puzzle. Now let's say mayim chayim is flowing down a mountain, and you have a keli on the bottom, but the water flowing down the mountain would miss the keli. So you want to divert the stream in order that the water should go into the keli. So nasan yodoi or ragloi, if you divert it with your hand or your foot, or ala yerakos, or edible vegetable leaves, kedei sheyavru hamayim l'chavius, in order to divert the water that it should go into the barrel, psulim, because you cannot divert it with something that's mekabel tumah. Alikonim, but if it's leaves of reeds, v'ali egos, or nut leaves, which are not edible, then ksherim, zaklal, davar shu mekabel tumah, if you divert it with something that's susceptible to tumah, it's possible. The davar she'eina mekabel tumah, but if you divert it with something that is not mekabel tumah, like the leaves of reeds or the leaves of nuts, it's kosher. And finally, hamafane es hamayim l'seicha gas or l'seicha gevim. If you divert a water from a spring into a pit in the ground used by the press for the wine to drain in from the grapes, or l'seicha gevim, or into a small puddle in the ground, maybe used for a washer's pool or something like that, so that is not mayim chayim el keli anymore, because the pit for the grapes or for the washer basin, that's not a keli, and it's interrupted from the live stream. So a zav that has to immerse in mayim chayim or mitzayra, which you need we shecht one of the tziporim, one of the birds in one of the rituals of the leper, biblical leper, and the blood goes in the water, and then we take that after we use the hyssop and the cedar, etc., and we spray it. It has to be mayim chayim, so this would not be good for the immersion of a zav or for the procedure of the spraying on mitzayra, or lekabesh mechatis, or to sanctify in it mechatis, mipnei sheloi nismalu b'kli, because the water is not in a kli. The mechatas must be taken from the spring into a kli. The pit in the ground does not constitute a kli, whether it's for the grapes or whether it's for a washer, and it's not mayim chayim that the Zov can immerse because it's interrupted, it's not connected anymore to the Ma'ayin. And now we continue, since it's Friday, so this is Tyrus, so the Gemara, we learn from a Gemara in Masechtas Nida. There are 5 practices, she'osa osan, that if you do them, mischayev benafsha, you forfeit your life. They're very dangerous. V'damay b'roisha, your blood is on your own head. Ha'oichel shum kolef, if you eat peeled garlic that was left overnight, uvatzel kolef, or a peeled onion, or beya klufa, or a peeled egg that was left overnight. V'ashoyse mashkin mezugin, and if you drink blended liquids, she'over aleim alayla, that were exposed overnight. V'alon bebeis hakfaros, and somebody who sleeps in a cemetery. V'anoitel tziparnov, and somebody that cuts his nails and throws them in the Rishus Harabim. V'zorkan l'Rishus Harabim. And v'amakiz dam, if somebody goes to the bloodletter and the same day, meshamish bitasai, he has intimacy with his wife. Now, ha'oichel shum kolef, if you eat peeled garlic, va'afal gav demanchi besilta, even if overnight you place it in a basket, or mitzayre, and you cover it, v'chasime, and seal it, still ruach rosh shayra aleim. There is a bad spirit that rests upon them. But that's only if you didn't leave on the garlic either its root or its peel. If you left the root or the peel, less lonba, there's no problem. Now, the Zohar is going to talk very strongly about how important it is to have shalashudas. I remember one time I was in Baltimore as a scholar in residence, and I spoke in Rav Heinemann's shul, and Rav Heinemann told me that if he had the choice, he would do away with the shul shalashudas, although it's a very wonderful thing. There's camaraderie of men, and there's divrei Torah and zmiris, it's really nice. But when the husband is at home, a lot of times the women don't eat shalashudas. And eating of the Suda Shlishis, as we will see, is very important. Tochazeh, come and see, B'sudasei ilain, these meals, Ishtamodon Yisrael, Klal Yisrael shows the Inon B'nai Malka, that they are the children of the king. The Inon Meichala de Malka. They show that they're the children of the king. That's what we do when we eat shalashudas. We show the Inon Meichala de Malka. We show that we're from the palace of the king. That's the Suda on Friday night. And the Inon B'nai Manusa, we are people of faith, of Emunah in Hashem. That's what we show when we eat Shabbos by lunch. And one that misses one meal, one of these meals, he demonstrates a blemish above, and he shows about himself that he's not from the celestial king, that he's not from the palace of Hashem, that he's not from the holy seat of Yisrael. And they put again upon the person who is negligent from eating even one of the 3 meals, the 3 punishments, which are Dina de Gehenim, the punishment of Gehenim, Chavlei Moshiach, and Milchamas Gog Magos. And now the Zohar says a very interesting thing. Other seasons like Rosh Chodesh and festivals, Yom Tovim, Boy Bar Nosh Lechte, a person has to rejoice, or Lemechte Lemiskene, and also cause rejoicing for the poor. If he rejoices himself, V'lo Yav Lemiskene, but doesn't cheer by giving to the poor, either by having the poor by his house, or giving money to organizations like Tomchei Shabbos, etc. O Noshe Sage, his punishment is great. Da Bilchadoi Chadi, he is selfishly only rejoices himself, v'lo yahav chedul achara, and he doesn't give happiness to others. Alei ksiv, upon him it says, the scary pasuk in Malachi, v'zeirisi perish al pneichem, and I will spray dung on your face, perish chagechem, the dung of your festivals. Yet Shabbos is different. V'ihu b'Shabbos chadei, if he rejoices on Shabbos, afal gav lo yav la'achara, even though he doesn't share with others, lo yavin alei onsha. He doesn't get the same punishment, kishar zimnim dechagin, like other seasons like Rosh Chodesh and Yom Tov. D'chsib perish chagechem, only dung of your festivals. Perish chagechem kama, only of your festivals. V'loi perish Shabbaschem, but not of your Shabbos. Uksiv chodshechem umoadechem sona nafshi. There are times when your new moon and your festivals my soul hates, when you don't give to others. Vilu Shabbos loy kamer. Why? Because it is ksiv beini uvein b'nei Yisrael. This is a private time between me and the b'nei Yisrael. Umishum dekol mehem nusa ishtachach b'Shabbos, and because all faith is found in Shabbos, yavinan lei levarnash nishmasa achar. He's given a different soul, nishmasa ilah, a elevated soul, nishmasa dechol shlimaba, a soul that all perfection is in the soul, kedugma de omadasi, similar to the future world, or begine kach ikre Shabbos, and because of that it's called Shabbos. Mao Shabbos, it's a special Shema D'Kutche B'Richu, it's a special name of Hashem, Shema D'Irushlim Mikol Sitroi, a name that's perfect from all sides. Now the Musar tells us something else about Shabbos. Misha Nod Varucha Iloshu B'Tshuva, if somebody is generated, stimulated to repent, Shmira Shabbos Tzricha Elav B'Yosef, keeping Shabbos correctly is very needed. Kihine b'chatasei, when he sinned, nistalka kedusha shabai, holiness left him and was replaced uva sitra achra, and the other side vakategorim, and the prosecutors shenivru b'chatoisav, that were created from his sins, hein choinim saviv savivloi, they are camped round about him, and of course cause him trouble and danger. V'Hashem is Shabbos, but when one keeps the Shabbos kilu mekayim kol haTorah kula, it's as if he fulfilled the whole Torah, and that causes v'yavo sanegorim, defending angels come, v'yidchu amalochi chabala, and push away the angels of destruction. U'b'yoishu bal tshuva, and because he's somebody who wants to repent, nimshach alav b'Shabbos, through the Shmira Shabbos there is drawn on him nitzos me'ashchina, a spark of the Shechina, v'doicha sitra achra asher b'kirbei, and the other side that was infused in him from the sins is pushed away. V'nimsa ki b'shmira Shabbos, and therefore it results that because he watches the Shabbos, niskenu nafshay v'gufay, his soul and his body is corrected. V'tzarech sheyechaven, and it's very important that he should have the correct intention, b'masha oichel b'Shabbos, what he eats on Shabbos, not just for his own boich, for his own stomach, but shehula anoig haShabbos, it's to light Hashem's day, the day that Hashem rested from creating the world, l'kayim mitzvasi yisbarach, to fulfill the command of Hashem. V'zeh she'amar, and that's what it says, u'shmartem es haShabbos, you should guard the Shabbos ki kodesh hi lochem. It should be holy, that which is yours, even that which is ours, the cholent and the gefilte fish, even which is lahanaschem, even that which is for our benefit. Even that which is beneficial and delightful, kodeshi, shetchavnu l'kodesh. You have to have in mind for the purpose of holiness. L'kayim mitzvaysiv yisbach, that you're doing the mitzvah of Hashem, you're honoring and remembering that Hashem created the world. He took us out of Mitzrayim, and this is a very important factor for one who does tshuva. And so should he do constantly every Shabbos, be skula. And this is a very big skula Lisrachek mi Yetzer Hara, to help him distance from the Yetzer Hara, v'lidabek el hakdusha, and to cleave to holiness, hu v'racham of Yazrenu, and Hashem in His mercy should help us, al dvar k'shvayit shmai, for the sake of His holy name. The Rambam tells us about Shabbos that we can't have a guy do malacha for us on Shabbos. Also, leima l'guy, it's forbidden to tell a guy la'asais lanu malacha b'Shabbos, to do for us work on Shabbos. And afal pi she'eina mitzvah ala Shabbos, even though the guy is not commanded not to work on Shabbos, and even if he tells him to do it on Friday, even though when you tell the guy to do it, you really don't need it until after Shabbos, you can't tell him to do it on Shabbos. The Rambam holds this is an Issa D'Rabbanan, Shabbos kala beinayim, in order that you shouldn't come to take Shabbos lightly, and that could lead to you, chas v'shalom, doing the work on your own. Now the Rambam draws more in detail the parameters, the rules over here. If a guy does something on his own on Shabbos, but if you know he did it for you, for a Jew, even if he did it on his own, also lehanas ba'isa malacha, you can't benefit from that work ad Motzei Shabbos, until Motzei Shabbos, and even on Motzei Shabbos, v'yamtim b'chdei sheyas, you have to wait until the time that it takes for the work to be done. And even then, v'hu shelo ya'adav b'fahesya, it shouldn't be been done publicly at sheyedo barabim shedav zeh b'shvil ploin yunasa b'Shabbos, that the guy did it for the yid. In that case, you shouldn't even use it on Motzei Shabbos. However, v'im b'shvil atzmai bilvan asa, but if the guy didn't do it for you, he did it for himself, then mutar lahanas b'Shabbos. Then you could benefit from it on Shabbos. So, Ketzad, guy shemadlik saner, a guy that lights a candle in a dark room, mishtamish la'ori Yisrael, a yid could come and walk in that room. However, but if you know that the guy did it for you, then it's us. Similarly, also guy kevesh leireid boy min asfina. If a guy made for himself a ramp to go down from the boat, yered acharav Yisrael, then a yid could use that ramp too. Vim also b'shvil Yisrael, but if the guy did it for the yid, then it's us, even if you didn't ask him. Malei mayim lahashkais behemta. If he put water in a trough to give to his animal, and afterwards there was water left, mashka acharav Yisrael, the Yisrael could use that water. However, b'mishvil Yisrael, if he did it for the yid, it's aser. Liked asavim, if he collected herbs, pulling it out of the ground, lahakal behemtoi, maniach Yisrael behemtoi lecha behem, then a yid could allow his animal to eat from them too. But that's only if the guy didn't know him. Because if the guy knew him, and then he did extra for him, then it's aser. Why? Because if he knew the yid, he might have ripped out more herbs. Anything, not like a candle, but anything, because a candle is ner le'echad ner le'meya, but anything where there could be extra activity done, lo yehena by b'Shabbos elim keinein makira. You can't benefit from it unless the guy doesn't know you. But if the guy knows you, so there's a chash that he did more for the yid, then the yid is not allowed to benefit from it. Rabbi Isai, I want to thank all of you for joining us and wish you a good tavach.